Raw for June 22nd, 2020. When it comes to this show, we need to have a heart-to-heart because there's a lot of things that need to be discussed with what happened last night. And if we're having heart-to-hearts, then we also have to talk about The Undertaker and how he has ridden off into the sunset for the final time. Now, he did say never, but he also said he no longer has that spark. In fact, his exact quote was, he doesn't have the desire to ever get back into the ring. So unfortunately, that's a heart-to-heart that we also need to have in this very video. But first, let's keep it a little lighthearted at the beginning. And I finally got my hands on the WWE new ice cream bars, or sandwiches. This is something I've been wanting to try for a while. It's nostalgic for yours truly. Because I was around decades, am I dating myself here? But I was around decades ago when the original ice cream bars for WWE were introduced to the world. And the only way you could get them, at least in my neighborhood, was you had to wait for the ding-dong ice cream cart to come around. You know, the weird, creepy ice cream guy. You know, play the fucking music to attract all the kids. Really weird, but he always had the bars that I needed. So you'd run out, you'd chase after this motherfucker, and it was an experience. You weren't just getting an ice cream. When you got an old school WWE bar, each bar came in a separate box. It was a red box, I'll never forget it. You open it up, you get a WWE Superstar card, like a trading card. So that was always fun, and then you get to see which superstar you got. And guys, the bar was fucking incredible. It was a thick coating of cookie top. So it was like that. I've never had these before. I'm going to try this on camera with you guys right now, man. This is a true first ever taste test for yours truly. But it was a much thicker coating of a cookie topping. The middle was a vanilla ice cream, and the bottom of it was a chocolate coating. It was fucking... man, I can't tell you what I would do right now to get those fucking ice cream bars back. But you know what? They brought back something, right? The good people at Good Humor. And by the way, they're not paying me for this. I know this looks like a fucking advertisement, but... an advertisement, but it's not. I assure you. I've been meaning to get this for a few months now. And every time I go to get it, there ends up being some beautiful cashier that's about to ring me out. So what am I supposed to do? Like show up with my WWE ice cream bars? This beautiful girl's looking at me like, I'm a winner, I swear. I'm just going home with my ice cream bars. So I always had to abort the mission. But they went away for the last month, and I was like, fuck, man, I never got to try them. So they finally came back. I knew I had to get these, man. I don't give a fuck if beautiful Stacy was there or not, you know, looking at me like judging what I'm buying. I don't care. Which, by the way, the cashier ended up being a fucking huge wrestling fan, so we shot the shit about 15 minutes. We had a line 12 deep, and everybody is socially distanced. So it wrapped around 3 other aisles. They were probably pissed at us, but we're talking wrestling. So anyway, let's try this shit, man. I'm only going for one super. There's 4 you can get. There's Cena, Lynch, Roman, and ooh yeah, Macho Madness. Macho Man Randy Savage, man. I only want Macho Man. Anything else is a bust. I sure as hell don't want to eat Becky Lynch. I guess I'll take the head off of John Cena, and Roman Reigns I could do without. So, we're going Macho Man here, guys. Let's see what we get. Oh, these are so different, man. Again, it's nothing like the original, man. The original were actual bars, and they were an experience. This is just ice cream. All right, I'm going to do that. I'm just reaching in, guys. I'm not looking. I'm hoping for Macho Man. All right, I made my choice. There we go. Ready? Who is it? Oh, it's upside down. Who is that? Oh, it's Becky Lynch. Can you guys even... It's not even printed that deep, man. It's Becky Lynch. I gotta eat Becky Lynch. All right. Oh, shit. Wait. Oh, Roman's on the other side. Get out of here. Are you kidding me? They're so fucking tiny, man. So even though it's nostalgic, it's kind of sad, you know, because it's nowhere near the original, man. But at least Good Humor went out on a limb. They gave the old man in Stamford a chance. I wonder how these things are selling. I got to do some research on it. Can you guys even see that, man? That's Becky Lynch. And then if you flip it over, there's Roman. This is very fucking odd. Let's see how it tastes, man. Here we go. Do we eat Becky? Yeah, let's eat fucking... I'm kind of going to get Roman's fucking Superman punch in the process. I'm eating Becky's head. Okay, that sounded horrible. You guys know what I mean. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go to the warning sequence. I'm going to down this. I'm going to get one of my fucking... I got a 4-pack ready. I don't know how this Raw review is going to go, but I'm ready. I got 4 fucking mocha frappuccinos. They better be mocha. Yeah. I got 4 fresh mocha frappuccinos, so I don't care how long this motherfucker takes. We're going to talk Raw, June 22nd, 2020. Let me down this, and I'll be right back with you. Ow! Oh yeah. Yep. Let's rock out. Start with the Undertaker news, guys. We have to start with the Undertaker. Mark Calloway. He's been having this Last Ride series on the WWE Network. And at the end of this thing, at the end of the series, he came right out and he said... I no longer have the desire to get back into the ring. He said, never say never, and if Vince ever finds himself into a pickle and he needs to call upon The Undertaker, he'll be there for Vince. And I wouldn't doubt Vince calling The Undertaker for something in the future. But I think for the time being, for the very imminent future at the very least, I'm talking right into next year's Mania even, I don't see the Taker being seen on our screens again. And even if he does appear, just knowing that The Undertaker himself said that he doesn't have the desire anymore. The spark is gone. So what we see is going to be a shell of The Undertaker anyway, right? I mean, some people say it already is. But let's be honest, The Undertaker is a character that can just come to the ring, deliver a chokeslam and a tombstone, and call it a day, and we're all happy. Because aside from the fact that The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, is actually a good wrestler, he's an attraction within himself. He's one of the very few individuals in the wrestling world, for all of time, that is his own attraction. He literally just has to have his music play. And he delivers a couple of moves and everybody's happy. But The Undertaker said in that very interview, he said, I don't want to do that. He said, if I cannot perform at the level that I know I used to perform at, then I don't want to do this anymore. And that sucks. Because I was hoping we'd see Undertaker at 60 years old dropping a tombstone or a chokeslam and a tombstone. Right off, right? And listen, if you're 60-something years old and you can't walk as good, ride your fucking bike up and down the ringside, right? I'll take the American Badass. That's an attraction within himself. But, man, to hear The Undertaker just say he's done. He's just done. I mean, if you see me back, it's only because Vince was in a pickle. It's not The Undertaker that we know. You know, that sucks, man. And had I known, I would have appreciated that Boneyard match even more. You know, it was already appreciated by yours truly. But had I known that when he was riding off into the night, that was for good. And Undertaker says that was just a perfect ending for him. And it truly is. You know, when you have when you're putting on matches at like WrestleMania 25 with Shawn Michaels, and then you go into those Triple H matches at 27, and I think he took on Michaels in 25 and 26, and then he took on Triple H in 27 and 28, I believe, or something like that. But when you have those type of WrestleManias, and then you go into that Super Showdown or Saudi Arabia match with Goldberg, and we knew that that was a travesty because of what happened to Goldberg, and that match got panned. And I'm sure The Undertaker was thinking, what am I doing, man? I'm in this stage of my career. I should be getting all the adulation, and everybody's telling me to hang it up. Everybody's telling me that was one of the worst matches they've ever seen. That had to have hurt The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, very deeply, emotionally. And I think to have that type of redemption and to ride off after that victory over AJ Styles in the Boneyard match, and then to hear all of us, critics, analysts, journalists, fans, everybody was saying how good that match slash fight slash cinematic experience was. And everybody was talking about it in such high regards. I think that made The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, proud again, you know? And he's like, you know what? Through all the ups and downs, man, I want to end it on a high note. And I think that's really cool, man. John Elway did that. Remember when the Broncos won the Super Bowl? Unfortunately, that was over my Green Bay Packers. But John Elway rode off into the sunset after that. And people were like, what? You're on top of the world, man. You're going to leave now? And he's like, yeah, I'm leaving with the Super Bowl championships. And that's what The Undertaker chose to do here. So, and who knows? Vince McMahon may never call upon The Undertaker for anything. So I think there's a very good chance that is the last time you ever see The Undertaker compete. Very good chance. I mean, he's telling you he's done. He's telling you the only chance is if McMahon needs him back. So The Undertaker is, I mean, through his own words, The Undertaker's retired. You know, we have to take that at face value. He did say never because if Vince does need him. But he says the desire to get back in the ring is gone. It's no longer there. That spark is gone. And that's it. He said that's the perfect ending for him. So what a career, man. I remember when he debuted. What was that? 89 Survivor Series, guys? Or was that 90? It was Hartford, Connecticut. I think it was 89. There's a slight chance it could have been 90. But it was at Survivor Series. And he's been going strong for, what is that, over 30 years? I mean, that's just mind-boggling. To be the most epic character for over 3 decades. So anyway, there's no way I could really start this review off, aside from trying ice cream, than to talk about my boy Mark Calloway, The Undertaker. Thank you, Mark. What a fucking career. Dude, we'd be here for hours and several videos just going over your career. So I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot about The Undertaker for weeks, months, years, decades to come. That's just fact. That's how important he was and still is to this wrestling business and industry. Thank you, Mark Calloway, dude. What a fucking career. I'll just be redundant in saying that. So I'm going to move on with the Raw 2020, 6/22/2020 review. This show is setting up for Extreme Rules. This is their next pay-per-view in just a few weeks. The show starts off with the champion, the WWE champ, Drew McIntyre. He's in the middle of the ring. I can't say this enough. I can't express this enough. It is so good to see the champion there basically every week. When you get so accustomed to Brock Lesnar and he's there every other month and he wrestles once every 3 or 4 months, it's so good to see a champion that is actually there every week. And not just a champion, but a dude that you know deserves that championship. And I hate that word deserves, but Drew deserves that championship. Drew has the look, he's got the charisma, he can go in the ring, he's the complete package. And he's got a championship and he's there every week. I can't express enough how much I love that, man. And how cool that is to see and how good that is to see. Now, Dolph Ziggler hits the ring out of nowhere. He says that he and Robert Roode, now this is again Dolph Ziggler, He and Robert Roode have been traded to Raw in exchange for AJ Styles, who we already know has switched over to SmackDown. Obviously, he's the IC champion over there. So, you guys remember when AJ Styles went over, first it was supposed to be that superstar swap thing that they were claiming they were going to start doing, but then it got panned. So then they just said AJ got traded and for superstars to be named later. Well, now we know. It's Dolph and Robert Roode. And Drew McIntyre's like, what is this, a 2-for-1? And Drew's like, basically, that's an embarrassment. Like it took two of you to equal AJ Styles. And Drew told Dolph Ziggler, he said, it's not because you're not good at what you do. It's not your performance. You still got it. It's because you became what we always couldn't stand. You became entitled. Basically, you became complacent. So I love how Drew was real with Dolph because you know there's a friendship there. And you guys know that on camera they have a past. They were basically teammates. And Drew always watched over Dolph when he got to the main roster. So I like the interaction between the two. But then Dolph then out of nowhere just requests a title match for Extreme Rules in a couple of weeks. And I'm thinking, hold on, whoa. I understand a little bit of a storyline here, but this dude just got to Monday Night Raw. And all he had to do was say, I deserve a title match. And Drew a minute later said, you got it. So for Extreme Rules, we have a Dolph Ziggler versus Drew McIntyre match. Guys, I like the interaction, and I can even get behind a story with Dolph and Drew, even though I've seen it in the past, but I can get behind it. But what you're doing is you're diminishing the value of the championship. I mean, if people can just not only request championship matches, snap of a finger, blink of an eye, but not only that, but just come to the brand. I mean, you had a whole roster on Raw fighting within and amongst one another for weeks and months over the last calendar year. And then you have Dolph just show up and he's like, I'm going to become champion. How does that show any type of value to the championship? And then you wonder why there's people like BC Amplified that claims that the championship is no longer prestigious, it's just a joke. And there are some people that get upset when I say that. Oh, BC, you're being dramatic, man. BC, you're overanalyzing it, man. Relax and just enjoy it, but I'm trying to. But I need the championship to be prestigious, and to do that, you have to build your champion, which they're doing beautifully, by the way. And you also have to have the other side of the equation, which is building up your number one contender, your challenger for that title. What this company fails to do is to build up challengers. We see time and time again, all they really love to do is throw in multiple people for title matches because they don't want to give the time, effort, and care. Right? They don't want to devote the energy that it takes to build up somebody. Even in tag teams, we see fatal 4-ways or triple threat tag team championship matches. But how is that number one contenders if you're also throwing in the number 2, number 3, and number 4 contenders? It's lazy booking. That's what triple threats, fatal 4-ways, 5-ways, 6-pack challenges, they're all lazy booking. It's because they don't care anymore. That and the fact that there's a pay-per-view every 3 or 4 weeks, so it's constantly instant gratification. It's constantly on to the next. That's the bullshit that has to end. You have to not only build your champion, you have to build up number one contenders. That's the only way your fan base, your audience, your crowd is going to get invested into the feud, the story, the match. Otherwise, you just have something like this happening, where a guy shows up out of nowhere, not even a part of the brand, says, I want a match for the championship, and in a few weeks, that's the match for the championship. How the fuck are you? I'm asking you, how are you getting invested into that? Don't fool yourself. You're not. So that's my concerns with it. Other than that, you guys know I think very highly of Dolph Ziggler, and I can get behind a feud with Drew and Dolph. I just wish it was done correctly. Dude shows up, dude asks for a championship match, and in a few weeks, we got these two dudes going at it for the title. I'm not behind that, and I can't, and I won't ever get behind something like that. My number one goal for having a pro wrestling channel is to make the industry better with the voice that I do have, no matter how big or small the platform will ever be. I have a voice in the wrestling community and I want to use it the best way possible to help change it for the better. I'm not going to bullshit ever on this channel. If I see something wrong, I have to call it out. This is absolutely wrong. You have to build up, number one, contenders. And I don't want to see multiple people in the match. It's a champion versus a challenger. If it's a tag team title match, it is the champions versus one tag team contenders. One set of team. Not multiple teams. Can you tell that frustrates me? Moving on, so that's your Extreme Rules title match. Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre. Moving on, Nia Jax takes a seat, middle of the ring. She starts talking about Asuka and her title, but is interrupted by R-Truth and several ninjas. That's right, I said several ninjas. It's a long story. I'm not even going to get into it. Charlotte then comes to the ring. She and Nia get into a verbal dispute, and then Nia and Charlotte start coming to blows with one another and start trying to take one another out. Several referees are trying to separate them. And you have these two heels. Nia's a heel, and Charlotte supposedly, even though Charlotte is always playing face/heel, right? Vince just puts her in both fucking categories, which just confuses people even more. So you have Nia and Charlotte, two heels. A. B. Two people that we surely don't need to see together in the ring. We need to see these two together like we all need to see a pot of water boiling. In fact, a pot of water boiling may be more entertaining. Now, this wouldn't be the last we've seen of these two. Later in the night, Nia Jax attacks Charlotte, or it was just a couple of segments later, actually. Nia attacks Charlotte backstage, slams something down like a fucking garbage thing or something onto Charlotte's arm and injures her arm a little bit or her shoulder. So Nia takes out Charlotte backstage. Charlotte, don't forget, has a championship match with Asuka later in the night. Now, remember what I'm saying here. Nia injuring Charlotte was all for a reason. Because what happens in that Asuka-Charlotte match, it's to save face for Charlotte Flair, of course. I mean, this all had purpose. But while it's happening in real time, we're all like, come on, man. Nia and Charlotte, that's really where we're at. It's just... And then the way Vince uses her, right? First, it's all three brands. And then when that's universally panned, when everybody's blasting that, nobody wants to see Charlotte Flair on three fucking brands. It's just not working. You guys see Sasha Banks recently. She was on all three brands last week, right? You guys see how nobody's complaining, right? Because it was done beautifully and it's Sasha fucking Banks. People actually want to see her on their TVs. You see how that works, Vince, when you listen to your audience? Whereas Charlotte's on there for week after week on all three brands, and we're all rolling our fucking eyes to the back of our dome piece. Nobody wants to see it. So now Vince is forced to scale back Charlotte from all three brands. Charlotte 3 brands, as I used to call her. Now, Vince is doubling down on both sides of Charlotte. We're going to have her play the heel. We're going to have her play the face. Because with Nia, she's clearly playing the fucking face. And then when she's with Asuka, she's clearly the fucking heel. The problem is nobody gives a fuck about Charlotte as a heel. Nobody gives a fuck about Charlotte as a face. Nobody wants to see Charlotte right now because you have fucking ruined it for everybody. Nobody more so than Charlotte Flair. The old man in Stamford has ruined Charlotte for the time being. She needs to be fucking sidelined, repackaged in a different way, shown in a different light, a different storyline that's actually going to be captivating. Things need to be changed. Because what has happened to Charlotte Flair is nobody wants to see her anymore. I mean, it was overexposure to the highest degree. And that's something you never want in pro wrestling. So now he's doing the face heel thing with Charlotte, and it's just, it's mind-boggling. It's like, what is this dude not understanding? He loves the golden child. The rest of the wrestling world does not love her as much as him. And he's not understanding that. It's like parents that have a kid, right? And they have this baby, and they love it, and now they want to parade them everywhere, right? They're taking them for walks, they're going in grocery stores, they're taking them to Disneyland at like fucking 6 months old. Like the kid's gonna remember. You're gonna spend $10,000 on it. This kid's not gonna remember shit. You're gonna have a hellacious time. You gotta fucking do the stroller thing, park the strollers, deal with the crying, the fucking changing of the diapers, all at Disney World. I've seen parents go through this, and it's absolute hell. But they'll do anything to parade around their baby. Why? Because to them, it's the most precious thing in the world. And they think that everybody else is going to walk by and goo goo gaga and say, oh, he's so cute. Not everybody's going to do that. Nobody is going to love your child more than you love your child. But everybody likes to think that, right? So they get their baby, and what do? They go on social media and they start posting nothing but photos of their baby on social media, right? Here's my I know people that posted a fucking baby picture every fucking day on social media, to the point where I had to leave fucking social media. How many times can you see somebody's fucking baby? Again, it's because they love their fucking kid and they think everybody else wants to see a new baby picture every day. Nope, we just don't. We don't need to see Charlotte fucking Flair every show. Just because you love her that much, Vince, doesn't mean we all do. Oh, I'm on a fucking roll now, man. Oh, yeah. Ow. All right, so first match of the night. But guys, all of this, we haven't even got to the first match of the night yet. First match comes over a half hour into the show because, again, we have the Dolph and Drew thing at the beginning. Then we have the whole Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair debacle. Now we get to the first match over half an hour into the show. It's a tag title match. It's the Street Profits, the champions, versus challengers, the Viking Raiders. Please think about what I just said. For all of the comedy bullshit that we've seen over the last 2 months, and all the concerns that I was raising with you guys, what is this doing for your tag team champions? All this comedy, they're bowling, they're playing Monopoly, they're throwing frisbees, decathlons, tennis, who the fuck knows what they're doing? That's how you're booking your tag champions. But I also raised concerns about the flip side. You had what was once known as War Machine, and now they're being reduced to the Viking Raiders. And you have them playing Battleship. You have them playing Red Rover, send a Street Profit over. You have them playing all these games. And this was War Machine. They were once respected in the business, and now they're a comedy act. Not much different than R-Truth. The only difference is I laugh at R-Truth. R-Truth is actually funny. So I raised concern over 2 months of booking of these two tag teams. And I was told by a lot of people, BC, just relax, man. It's going to end in a good way, man. Trust me, this is going to be a huge championship match at a pay-per-view, BC. Really? Because look how it ended after 2 months. It ended with ninjas. Again, long story. We won't go into it. But if you saw fucking, what was it, Backlash? The last pay-per-view anyway. I think it was Backlash. It ended with ninjas. And then the match itself ended up being in the middle of Monday Night Raw. The title match happened in the middle of Monday Night. So 2 months of all of this comedy, and the match takes place in the middle of Raw. Doesn't even go 10 minutes, I believe, correct? Or not much more, if so. And when it was all said and done, the Profits win the match, as they should. They shouldn't be dropping the titles yet. But I ask you, what did it do? What did any of this do for the Viking Raiders? I asked the same question for the Street Profits. Even a victory last night did nothing for the fucking Street Profits. But what does it really do for the Viking Raiders? 2 months of comedy. You get to a title match in the middle of Raw and you can't even win that. You can't even go 10 fucking minutes. And all those people that said, relax, Beastly. It's gonna end good, man. WWE has a plan. And I tried to tell you guys, no they don't. Trust me, if the old man laughed that first week when they did, what was it? The first week was it golf? Some shit, maybe it was basketball. If the old man was laughing at that, you were going to see something else the next week. And if he laughed again, you were going to get it another week and another. And that's what we saw for 2 months. Because it was making the old man laugh. And I know a lot of you guys told me you were chuckling too a lot of the time. Oh, I laughed, BC. I chuckled. But I told you guys long term, what is this doing for this feud and both these teams? And now we know. It did not just nothing, but it actually hurt the Viking Raiders tragically. This hurt the Viking Raiders. Where do they go from here? They're known now as a comedy team because you can't make them badasses. They can't even beat the Street Profits. This was once War Machine. So they're not badasses, clearly. You're not booking them that way. They're a comedy act. Well, how long do comedy acts last in WWE if it's not really to the next level, like R-Truth, for instance? Good luck with that, man. At least the Profits have tag team gold. Viking Raiders have nothing. I see, man, I don't want to say these words, but within the next year, I would not be shocked if the Viking Raiders are released by WWE. Vince will look at them just like he did Anderson and Gallows. I don't need them. They bring no value. And we'll all be remembering what they did in NXT and even beforehand as War Machine. But Vince gets his hand on some of these talents. He's got nothing for him. He doesn't know how to use them. We start hour 2 with Asuka defending her Raw Women's Championship against the Golden Child, Charlotte Flair. As aforementioned, this match clocked in just under 10 minutes, and Asuka wins this thing via tap out over the Golden Child. That's right, not just a victory, but a tap out. But before you go, whoa, Asuka won clean over Charlotte? What? Not so fast. Don't forget, that's why they had Nia Jax injure Charlotte earlier in the night and take out that arm. So when Asuka got that arm bar submission on and Charlotte tapped, Charlotte now has an excuse. So at first I was like, did they really just put Asuka over, finally? Over Charlotte Flair? Did that happen with no bullshit? Did that just happen? Clear cut, clean? No bullshit, no excuses? I was like, whoa! But then they immediately cut backstage to an interview with Nia. I mean, immediately after Asuka won. And they asked Nia, and I quote, Nia, do you think the injury you gave Charlotte earlier in the night played a role in the outcome of this match? That was a quote. They asked Nia that immediately after Asuka's victory, and I was like, oh, there they go. They couldn't even let Asuka have her moment. They had to make sure that Charlotte is protected. Why? Charlotte lost a title match against Asuka. If that was Liv Morgan, if that was Ruby Riott, if that was Bianca Belair, who's still MIA, by the way. Nobody knows where the fuck Bianca Belair is. Which is a fucking crime in itself. But if this was anybody else, Natty, Naomi, take your pick of the litter. I don't care what brand they're on. Vince would have them job the fuck out. Why are we protecting Charlotte non-stop? Because all you're doing in the process is you're derailing other females, even your champions. Asuka gets a tap out moment and you have to just, it's sabotaged by this whole injury angle. You know, like Asuka really didn't do this on her own. It was Nia that did it. And Charlotte would have won if she wasn't injured. They're booking Charlotte as if she's a face. That's what I'm saying. This is a problem because we all know Charlotte in her promos and her matches, she's a heel. But Vince will interchange her whenever he sees fit. And it's not only confusing the crowd. That would be one problem. The biggest problem is the crowd doesn't even give a fuck. So when you pass the level of confusion to not even caring, and this, I mean, she's a face 1 minute, and then she's a heel, then she's a face, then you're booking her as a face. An injury backstage, and then she loses, but you're playing up the injury angle, that's a fucking face. It's mind-boggling, man. And there's just no need for it. You know? You're marring the victory for Asuka. You're sabotaging that just to keep bumping up somebody who fans are just not going to get behind. Something just vividly needs to be done with Charlotte Flair's character and her TV time and the way you book her. And until you do such, you're not going to gain any fan base with her. So that's the game they decided to play. And I knew it. It couldn't be clear cut. as I've been saying for weeks, Charlotte is playing the role of face and heel, and I knew there was going to be some schmozzery here. And you got to thank Bruce Pritchard here, because you know Bruce is the only reason Asuka won. Bruce Pritchard, for those of you that don't know, he's the head of creative for Raw and Smackdown. And we've been hearing reports that he's been going tooth and nail with Vince McMahon. And that's awesome. I hope Bruce does not let up. Don't let Vince McMahon control your every move. You know? And Vince McMahon, you know, wanted Charlotte to win that match somehow. Or just look even more dominant. But you know Bruce Pritchard was like, Asuka has to win this. I'm telling you, the fans are going to implode if Charlotte wins this match. So Bruce was able to get his way and have Asuka win, which is the right thing. But Vince is so stubborn that he had to make sure Charlotte saves face. And and that's what I mean by sabotage, because the second after Asuka wins the match, we cut backstage to Nia's interview. We're showing Charlotte Flair holding her arm like that injury did something. And the focus is no longer on Asuka's victory. Now the focus is on Charlotte Flair willed herself to almost beating Asuka with an injury. Come on, man. Come on, dog. That wouldn't be the last time you see Asuka, man. She's got something really cool for Extreme Rules. Tragically, we were thinking it was going to be like some weird triple threat, right? Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, and Asuka for the title at Extreme Rules. No, it's going to be something really fucking badass, actually. But this kind of scares me. Does that mean SummerSlam? It's going to be Nia, Charlotte, and fucking Asuka? Oh, man. Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead. And for my own good, let me stop doing that right now. Edge is up next. He cuts an epic 5-minute long monologue promo to Randy Orton and says, "You've ended the PG side of Edge, and for that I'm thankful, because you've awoken the rated R superstar." And he puts Orton on notice. He basically warns Orton that they're not done. And when I saw you punt my best friend Christian in the dome piece last week, you've awoken that rated R superstar, and I'm going to destroy you. I loved it, man. Edge always cuts awesome promos and even interviews, but this 5-minute long monologue promo was one of his best ever. And then we cut to Randy Orton afterwards, and Orton cuts a badass 2-minute rebuttal. And here we are after months of these two feuding, and I'm still captivated by these two. I mean, that's how good they are. All of these months later, and their storytelling is still captivating the Amplified man. That's when you know you're doing something right. But I guess more importantly, that's when you know you're legit, bona fide superstars. You know, I always say today's wrestler is a carbon copy of one another, just pumped out of the performance center like Amazon boxes waiting to be sent out. Right? Everybody, it's just one superstar after the other, and they're all the same. Nobody has charisma, nobody has personality. And you look at Edge and Orton, and they're really the last of their breed. Especially with The Undertaker now retired, Triple H is pretty much all but done. Who do you really have? You have Edge, you have Orton. That's it. You know? And I mean, you could literally just have them for a half an hour cutting a promo, and I'm captivated. A half an hour of promos between the two, and that's more exciting and entertaining than anything on Raw. Next, R-Truth is in the ring. He's surrounded by those damn ninjas again. Lashley comes out, annihilates everyone, including the ninjas. Tozawa, who is now a ninja, I hope you're keeping track. Tozawa, who is now a ninja, ends up slithering into the ring, and R-Truth, who was taken out by Lashley, Tozawa sees this, and he slithers over R-Truth. He covers Truth. 1, 2, 3. We have a new 24/7 champion. Does anybody give a fuck? I don't know. It's my job to report that to you in this review. We do have a new 24/7 champion, and he is the Ninja Tozawa. Natty defeats Liv Morgan via sharpshooter up next. This tap out came at the 4-minute mark. Lana is now the manager or advocate or girlfriend, who the fuck knows, of Natty. So Lana is hooked up now with Natty. I don't mind that actually at all. I think that's pretty cool. It's an interesting dynamic, right? Natty has a female manager now. I don't mind that. That's a different aspect and dynamic that we're not used to. So I'm on board with that if done correctly. But what are they doing with Liv Morgan? That's my concern. Like, I know I harp on this every week that Liv Morgan is either not used or used in a jobber match. But now to see her permanently in that glorified jobber role, it's quite concerning because Liv Morgan, just like Ruby Riott, they have so much potential and so much more to offer, and the old man won't even give them the time of day. It's kind of mind-boggling to me, man. I don't understand. We all see it, and the old man sees nothing. I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore. A few segments later, Liv Morgan came across Ruby Riott, and Ruby wanted to speak with Liv, and Liv is like, not right now. After all I've been through, I don't need you to come down hard on me either. I don't need you basically depressing me even more, is what Liv is saying to Ruby. But Ruby's like, no, I just need to talk to you. And Liv's like, no, I don't need this right now. And Liv walks out. So it looks like they're going to reconnect Ruby and Liv. And you want to say, hey, at least it's TV time. And hey, at least maybe now they'll rack up some victories because they're starting to think of some stuff for them. But guys, they're just resorting back to what they once had, which is 2/3 of the Riot Squad. But they never formatted into anything. They were just a glorified jobber squad. Not even glorified. Half the time, they were just jobbers. The reason they split up is because we knew Ruby has something more in her. Liv has something more in her. Let them go on their own. They split up, they give them nothing, so what does Vince do? He puts them right back to square one. So now what, guys? We see Ruby and Liv together. They're too good to just be stuck in a tag team. And I know there's people out there that don't mind this, right? And I understand where you're coming from. It's sad because you put them on their own, you never even gave them a chance. Like, I could see if they had a chance and they just failed. But when Ruby first went on her own before the injury, Ruby was fucking dynamite. Liv Morgan, we know, has got it in her. And they were never given the chance. They just never had anything for them. So what does he do? He puts them back together. Now we're going to see Ruby and Liv Morgan back together. Woo! 2/3 of the Riot Squad. And here comes Sarah Logan. I bet you she'll be rehired. I mean, it's always good to see people get their job back, but what? With the women's division that we have, and there's so many ladies that are already not getting enough time and attention that they deserve, what the fuck is bringing in more females like Sarah Logan gonna do? It's just gonna crowd the division even more and distort it. It's a shame what they're doing with fucking Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. And now they're going to be placed back together because we don't have anything else. And they'll all remember the Riot Squad. Let's put them back together, yeah. And you'll have nothing for them 2 months after that either. So eventually they'll have to split up again. And we'll play this fucking game. Hour number 3 begins with Ric Flair and Randy Orton, center of the ring. Flair calls Orton the greatest performer of all time. Orton says the legend killer is back. The Big Show hits the ring. That's right. Well, it's the Big Show. I don't even know. Every time I hear that, I'm like, oh no, please. You just want to seriously run to the nearest concrete wall in your neighborhood and dive headfirst into it. So the Big Show hits the ring. He calls Orton a parasite for clinging on to legends his entire career. So he's basically saying the legends are his crutch. Orton then cuts in another electric promo, and I say another because he already cut a badass 2-minute promo on Edge earlier. So now he cuts an electric promo on Big Show. And I don't know what the deal is with Randy Orton as of late, but this dude is on an absolute fucking fire spree. Randy Orton, to say he's firing on all cylinders would be an understatement. In the ring, on the microphone, presence, mannerisms, star status. He's the man right now. Randy Orton is at the top of his game. This may be one of the best Randy Ortons we have ever seen. Right up there with his first Legend Killer role that he did years ago. That's the best Randy Orton for me. And the Evolution one was badass too. I'm just a sucker for Evolution. You guys know I love Evolution. At first, when Evolution was formed, I thought they were just a bootleg 4 horsemen, and I think that's what they were intended to kind of be. But they took on a life of their own. You had the Nature Boy Ric Flair, one of the best of his day. You had Triple H right there, still either in or just out of his prime. I think he was still in it. And then you have these young bucks coming up like Batista and Randy Orton. If you go back and look at Evolution, I honestly believe that they were one of the more underrated factions of all time. Evolution, when you look at all four of them, they were badass. So that was an awesome Orton as well. I think we all agree Legend Killer Orton back then was the best Orton. But he's right up there right now. If he continues this will be the best Randy Orton we have ever seen. And he's clearly one of the best wrestling talents and performers right now in all of wrestling. All of wrestling. And yes, I cover all brands, or most, or as much as I can anyway. This character right now, and how he is going about his business, he's on another level. I mean, that's something we can universally agree on as fans, and that's something usually we can't do. We all have our own opinions and this and that. That's something we universally can agree on. Randy Orton is fucking on another level. So he basically sends a message. He gets out of the ring before Show can knock him out. But this is leading to Orton and Show, obviously, for Extreme Rules, I believe. Do we need to see that? No, but at this point, I'm on board with Randy Orton. I think this was supposed to be Randy Orton and Edge for Extreme Rules. This was supposed to be like a rubber match because Edge defeated Orton at WrestleMania. Orton defeated Edge at Backlash. Extreme Rules was the rubber match, and we'd probably have some big stipulation. But because Edge got injured, I think Big Show was just a last-minute replacement. Of course, we don't need to see that. Of course, most of us don't want to see Big Show. But you know how this is going to end, and it's going to be pretty badass. Orton is going to annihilate Big Show. He's going to punt his dome piece off. It's going to be a big deal. They're going to have to get the biggest stretcher imaginable and carry Big Show back. Orton might attack Big Show while on the stretcher. It's going to be a big deal to kind of write Big Show back off of TV. For a few months anyway, until we hear that song again. Well. But I love fucking Orton, man. And to know that he's going to annihilate somebody else at Extreme Rules, I'm on board. We can sacrifice the Big Show. Up next, Sasha Banks and Bayley successfully defend their women's tag titles against the Iconics. I love the Iconics. You guys know that. I'm unapologetically on board with the Iconics. I know most of the community just likes to fucking badger them and pick on them. And cool. I like the Iconics. They're fucking entertaining, man. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, they make me fucking laugh. Billie Kay in the middle of the match, she'll just stop what she's doing. Iconic! I love it, man. I love it. BC, you like the Iconics? I do, little Jimmy, I do. Relax. But you guys know I love Sasha Banks even more, so I'm definitely happy with this outcome, man. Sasha Banks gets the tap out victory on the statement over Billie Kay. I believe is who it was. It was Billie Kay, because Bayley and Peyton Royce were doing their shenanigans on the outside. So Sasha Banks' bank statement, she wins it for the team. Now, that's not really the big story here. I don't know where the Iconics go from here, but they'll be fine. I always said the Iconics have a place in WWE. They're entertaining. Should they have titles? Probably not. But they have a place. They can be entertaining and you can insert them in things. So Iconics will be fine. Post-match is the real newsworthy shit here. Sasha tells Bayley that she wants a title match, and we all think she's talking about Bayley. So I'm pretty sure all of us were like, wow, they're doing this now. They're going to do this for Extreme Rules, and they're doing it like this? Underwhelming, but still a huge development. But Sasha swerved us all, right? And she says she wants a title match at Extreme Rules with Asuka and for the Raw Women's Championship. So all of us were like, oh, all right. But then if you're smart about shit, you kind of thought immediately, wait, she's not even part of the Raw roster. Now I know because she has a tag title, she can be on all brands, but I didn't think that meant you could just like challenge any singles champion from another brand. But WWE has no rules anymore, right? It's just the Wild Wild West. The inmates are running the asylum, basically. So anybody can challenge anybody right now. It literally does not matter. If I was Naomi, I would get out of obscurity in SmackDown and I just go over to Raw and be like, hey, I want title shots. At this point, you could have a female challenging for the heavyweight championship, the men's, and it probably would go over. All right. Nobody's fucking overseeing any of this. Nobody gives a shit anymore. Everyone's just calling out title matches. So, at first I'm thinking, this doesn't make sense. But all right, whatever. There is no rules anymore. And then I immediately thought after that, but wait, whatever. This is Sasha Banks versus fucking Asuka. Let's just be happy we're not seeing Asuka and Nia again, or Asuka and Charlotte Flair at Extreme. We're gonna see two of the best female wrestlers in the world at Extreme Rules. Sasha Banks versus Asuka, title on the line. I don't see Sasha Banks getting the championship here. I think Sasha needs to get a singles title sooner rather than later, but it has to be Bayley's title. I think that's the right person to win Bayley's championship. Start something with them too. I don't see how taking Asuka's title this soon, after Asuka just got it a few weeks ago, how that helps anybody. I love Sasha Banks. I would love to see her hoist that title up, but this is not the way to do it. This is Asuka's championship. Let Asuka have her moment, lengthy. Let Sasha Banks do her thing with Bayley. So I don't see Sasha getting this title, but we're all as fans going to sit back and enjoy an awesome wrestling match. Can you imagine if they give them 17 to 24 minutes at least? So that's going to be fucking fun, man. Bayley and Sasha jump Asuka afterwards, and Sasha hits the Banks statement, leaving Asuka floored. As Sasha Banks and Bayley celebrate, and Sasha has Asuka's championship with her tag title. So they're both a couple of two-belt champs at that point, even though Sasha doesn't, I mean, she's not the Raw champion, but they had all the gold. It was a cool visual. Let's leave it at that. Up next was the MVP Lounge with guest Apollo. MVP tries again to recruit Apollo, admitting his real motivation is getting that US title back in the fold because MVP said he had a title reign of 340 something days. I think he said 340 or 350 something days, man. I forgot about that it was that long. That's insane, dude. MVP truly is one of the best US champions of all time then, if that's the case. So he wants that title back in his fold. So I like that. That's a layer into the story that it makes it fun, you know what I mean? Like, he has a purpose. And usually on a show and in a brand like WWE that never has purpose for anything, it's cool to see purpose. So MVP has purpose to recruit Apollo, but Apollo again declines. Apollo is just not having it. And Shelton Benjamin comes out. He jumps Apollo. This sets up a match between the two. We come back from commercial, and Apollo defeats Benjamin. But immediately after, Lashley comes out and destroys Apollo post-match with that vicious full Nelson. I love the full Nelson when somebody like Lashley is performing it, because you believe that somebody as big and massive as Lashley putting on a full Nelson will fuck up somebody. You believe that. Fuck the spear. Too many people do the spear. You put somebody like Lashley and you have him do the full Nelson on motherfuckers, you'll believe that he's annihilating people. So I like that. He did it to R-Truth earlier. He does it to Apollo here. Lashley, you build him up as a beast, you'll get rewarded in the long run. Now, they fucked up Lashley since he's gotten back to WWE a couple years ago. Did they ruin him to the point of no return? We'll find out. But I like what I'm seeing out of him, at least, in the way they're booking him as a fucking monster. Is the booking on point? Absolutely not. They're still flawed in so many ways. But at least it's a turn in the right direction for Lashley. So, and who knows? I think he's next in line to get that US title. It just sucks that Apollo just got it. This is my pet peeve, one of many, is when a champion just gets their title and then they just give it to somebody else a month or two down the road. If even, sometimes it's a week or two down the road. Main event spot was reserved for Rey Mysterio and Dominic. They call out Seth Rollins. Somehow this leads to a 4-on-3 brawl. Rollins, Murphy, and Theory popping off with Rey, Dominic, Humberto, and Aleister Black. This was a seesaw cluster of confusion, but cool. I mean, it was fun to see everybody tussling in there. I got respect for not just Aleister Black, but Humberto as well. And Humberto is one of those people that people like to pick on and say he's got no charisma or this or that. I see a lot of potential in Humberto, to be honest. And a lot of people like Theory and Murphy, so I'm sure they like to see them out there. So it was a fun little brawl, but it was definitely, as I put it, a seesaw cluster of confusion because everybody was just... I mean, at one moment, Austin Theory and Buddy Murphy were defeating all four of them or beating up them, and then all of a sudden, Alistair and Humberto and all of them would come onto them and beat them up. And then 30 seconds later, it was like, what's going on, man? Does anybody know how to like put somebody away for good? And then we went off the air. So I don't mind the Dominic, Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins storyline at all. I really don't. I don't want it as my main storyline. You know, it's not there for me. So I guess that's not the way I would end Monday Night Raw, you know, with fucking Dominic and Mysterio. But, you know, that's more of like a secondary or third-ary feud. That's my only real complaint with that storyline, at least. It's just, I wouldn't put it in the main event. I don't know, man. You know, it leaves me kind of, Like, that's how you're ending it a couple weeks away from Extreme Rules? I don't know. This show took a few steps back from last week. I felt last week's show had a lot more potential, and it really got us kind of thinking, hey, man, all right, you know, maybe we're heading in a better direction. And I still think we are. I just think that we're getting right back into that realm of nothing is making sense. And people are just declaring shit, title opportunities, stories are being inflicted with no fucking purpose. People are being protected for no reason. And it's, you know, that's the shit that, man, you want to believe what you're watching. You want to just suspend all the disbelief. You want to enter the world of pro wrestling wholeheartedly. But to do that, you have to have logic. You have to have common sense. You have to have things make sense, because if they don't, knowledgeable human beings are not going to sit back and just take all the bullshit. You know, we can't watch 3 hours of this show and things that just don't make any sense. We're supposed to just go, no, I'm just going to forget about it. I'm going to act like this isn't happening. I'm just going to pretend like that's changed or that's rearranged. I'm going to flip this in my mind. I'm going to change this up. No, this is happening. And we have to believe it. Well, if you have somebody like the Amplified Man, I'm not just going to accept, I'm not going to stand in line with my wooden bowl and say, please, sir, can I have some more? You know, and the old man's like, more bullshit? Of course. Plenty of bullshit to go around. No, man, I'm not going to do that. I need things to make sense, man. You can't just have Dolph show up and ask for a title shot and get it. You can't have Asuka in a match like that and then immediately put the focus on protecting Charlotte Flair and making her a face when she's a heel. What is she anymore? The 3 brands didn't work. Now you're trying to have her a face and a heel at the same time. What are you doing, dude? The Viking Raiders, 2 months of comedy, and then they end in what? A loss in the middle of Raw. All of that led to that? You got ninjas flying around with no purpose? Sasha, who I love, and I can't wait to see Sasha and Asuka. I think it's going to be fucking awesome, but you can't tell a better story on how that match came about? Sasha just shows up and she's like, I'm taking Asuka's title. But you're SmackDown, dude. I know you can go to all the brands with your tag titles, but I didn't think you could. What I'm saying is, if you take the time and the energy and the effort to get creative, and you think before the show gets put on the air, how can we creatively tell a story that people are going to get invested into, A, and B, makes sense? If you dedicated time to that, then you could tell a cool story of how Sasha and Asuka came about. How Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre came about. They don't give a fuck anymore. They don't have the time anymore. And shit, again, there's a pay-per-view every 3 weeks. So maybe they truly feel there is no time. People just have to show up and challenge somebody. even if it makes 0 sense. I can't stand that, and I'm not going to sit back and just watch. No, not going to happen. Amplified, man. Much love to all you guys. Coffees and ass whippings, man. Good news is AEW and NXT, a lot of you guys were wondering why there was no review last week for both. I told you guys, these shows have to at least get 750,000 viewers. If you cannot pull 750,000, I'm not going to review you because there's not enough interest for the actual show. What makes you think there's going to be interest for reviews? So, or at least even if you come near 750, I'll probably review your show. So AEW and NXT this week, both came at least around 750. I think one even surpassed. So I'm going to do NXT and AEW this week. So look out for those reviews, guys. They did enough. They hit around that 750,000, As long as they're bringing in their own audience, then I'll review their shows because I know there's going to be people that give a fuck. But if they can't even pull over 3 mil, or 750,000, I'm sorry, 750,000, then, content creators aren't going to get a lot of traction either. And it becomes, it's meaningless. So I think they did enough. So I believe I'm going to do AEW and NXT this week. So look out for that review, guys. But again, until then, coffees and ass whoopings. You guys know the deal. And always be subscribed and notified on the channel because you never know when I'm going to dish out an impromptu video, which are usually really fun and really amplified. I think I'm going to go get another ice cream bar now. I'm going to try for Randy Savage again, man. I got to get the Macho Man. It's going to be a fucking 8:38 in the morning, and I'm going to have 3 ice cream bars down and probably 4 coffees. Such is life. See that man, baby. Put him up. Check you later.